Hey there, and welcome to Your Worth, Your Way, the podcast that's all about helping you understand that you are worthy of prioritizing your joy without feeling guilty or selfish. I'm Debbie Lucas, the Joy Alchemist, and each week I'll be bringing you honest, heartfelt conversations with incredible guests, coaches, thought leaders, and soulful humans who will share their stories and insights on self-worth, confidence, personal growth, and how to create a life that feels authentically yours. This isn't about quick fixes or cookie cutter advice. It's about real talk, practical takeaways, and plenty of soulful inspiration to help you live a life your way. So grab your favorite cuppa, get comfy, and let's dive into today's episode. Today, I am joined by the lovely Brenda Mundt, a breath coach, 9D breathwork facilitator, grief recovery method specialist, certified personal trainer, wellness coach, and fitness instructor. Brenda helps individuals discover lasting happiness and cultivate inner peace through transformational breathwork. And today we're diving into how emotional baggage, emotional wounds that we carry can make it extremely challenging to embrace our true selves and see our worth. I'm so excited for you to hear Brenda's journey and insights on living life her way. So welcome, Brenda. Lovely to have you today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So tell us what's lighting you up at the moment.
Oh, what actually being here on this interview.
Oh, well, that's lovely. It's lovely to have you. And you and I, obviously, I was a guest on your podcast, and that
hmm
episode's still to come out as well. But it's lovely, and that just to be able to, as I was saying to you before we came on there, to kind of cross-pollinate our ideas and our work, and kind of reach wider audiences. And it's all about kind of working together and collaborating, isn't it?
Yes, oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's crazy to think how many people I have met literally all over the world in the past year plus. Yeah,
Amazing.
it's very cool.
So tell us a little bit about your story and what led to the work that you're doing right now.
Oh, geez. Okay. So, when I actually started was originally down like the whole health and wellness path. I was all into because I love working out and taking care of my body and just feeling my best. I was very overweight as a child, and my parents struggled with their weight and were pretty much considered obese their entire lives. And I saw all the struggle that they had as they got older, and I'm like, I didn't want to end up like that. And so I really took pride in doing the best to take care of myself. So I started going down that path. Then life happened. And in September of 2021, I unexpectedly lost my husband to COVID. And in a matter of 11 days, he was gone. And it was, when COVID happened, you couldn't be in the hospital with them and all that sorts of stuff. And so when I ended up having to take him into the hospital, it was like I was literally just like I was told I didn't get to give him a goodbye kiss, goodbye hug, nothing. It was like, you need to leave. And it was like the longest 11 days of my entire life. But the one thing I'm grateful for is that I was able to, when I got that horrendous phone call saying your husband's organs are shutting down, um, I was very grateful though that I was able to actually be by his bedside with him. And they actually had to, when I had to ask them, I'm like, can I be there? And they actually put me on hold to ask somebody if it was okay if I could come there. And so they're like, well, yeah, you can. You'll have to gown up and double mask. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, I am fine with that. I will do whatever you need me to do. I just want to be there. So he just had one sibling. So me and his sister were able to be by his bedside when he passed. And he was my everything. He was my soulmate, my best friend. Just he was my world. And so my world therefore got turned upside down. And I didn't know how to kind of like, okay, I got to figure out how to navigate life without him. everything was just, the rug was taken out from underneath me, and literally was put in a situation that I was not able to stay for multiple reasons, not able to stay in our home. And then so I had to sell all of his stuff because he was a boy with a lot of toys. So it's like I had to sell all of our stuff, all of his stuff, I should say. Kept what I wanted to keep, which was a lot of his, some of his clothes, and and then find myself a new home. And I had a stretch of like 4 to 6 months that was like absolutely insane because I had so much I had to get done. And there are times that I still look back and it amazes me what I all got accomplished. I'm like, I have no idea how I did that. But once I kind of got through that portion of it, I mean, even going through all that, I'm kind of like, I knew I needed, because I've done so much self-development over the years and had that self-awareness. I'm like, I knew I needed to do something to help myself because I knew I was not going to be able to do it on my own. And you know how the universe kind of throws you those signs. So I had first came across the grief recovery method, and there was something about it that just kind of spoke to me. So I actually had a call with the founder's son and talked to him, and he kind of went through everything with me, and he's kind of like, well, he's like, you can either just do the program, which is an 8-week program. He's like, or we do have an immersive 4-day training, which takes you through the program, plus trains you to turn around and help other people. And so I kind of thought about it. I'm like, well, I obviously need to do something to help myself, but I figured, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm like, I want to turn around and be able to help other people too, because this is hard, And so I went through that 4 days, and I went into the grief recovery method feeling so lost, so broken, because I could not even, I had his pictures from his funeral. He always had the picture boards. I had them off in a spare bedroom. I could not even go in there and look at them without having a massive breakdown. And I wanted to be able to look at them and yeah, okay, shed those tears, but end up having them be more tears of joy because of all the memories that we had. And just instead of having it absolutely crush me. So I went through the 4 days, which was so emotionally intense. It was insane. But by the time I got through the 4 days, the best word I can describe was I felt so much lighter. And I literally had people within that group had said to me that they could see by the look on my face how much it had helped me. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to, it really helped me with that intense pain that I was feeling after losing him, the not being able to say goodbye to him, not being able to give him a goodbye kiss, we're not going to be able to celebrate any more anniversaries, no more birthdays, no more trips. That deep hurt of the no mores was lightened. Yeah. But then so that helped me kind of get through that piece of it. But then I'm like, there's so much that people process with grief and all that. And it's just like, I feel like you're in this big ocean, and you're constantly dealing with all these waves, and you never know when one of those waves is going to come crushing in and smack you. And so continuing on that journey, I'm kind of like, okay, I'm like, there's got to be other modalities out there to continue helping me. And all of a sudden then breathwork came into my feed. and I had heard about breathwork, and I heard all the positive things about it. So I'm like, So my mentor had a free 5-day challenge. So I did the 5-day challenge, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'm intrigued. So that I turned around and I bought his 30-day program, which dove deeper into it. And then part of that 30-day program was where he had one of his what we refer to as a transformational breathwork journey. So we're talking active breathwork for like over an hour.
Wow.
And so I finally had set time aside to do that. And I was actually afraid. I was kind of concerned. I'm like, oh God, because I'd seen online, some of the reactions people had when they do the breath work. I'm like, dang, some of these people look like they're possessed or something. And So I'm like, okay, I just need to decide on a time. Like, this is what I'm going to do it, right? And so me being just all weird and everything, I even texted my sisters. I'm like, so tomorrow morning, I'm like, I'm doing this breath work thing. I'm like, so if you don't hear from me by noon, I'm like, can you please come check up on me? Needless to say, I was absolutely fine. And but when I did that first transformational breathwork journey, I, oh my gosh, I got done and it was like a holy crap moment.
Wow.
And I mean, all in a very good way. And it was like, whoa. I mean, I had such an emotional release between crying and screaming and my body just releasing so many emotions. And I'm just like, wow. I'm like, everybody should be doing this because life is challenging in so many different ways. And all it took was that one transformational breathwork journey, and I was all in. I was all in, and then they went they did the trainings. I went to signed up with Breathmasters Academy, went through the whole thing so I could guide people through breathwork journeys. And then my mentor went into then going into it more, and then got into the 9 dimensional audio, the 9D breathwork. So then they had training for that to become a facilitator. So that I'm like, and that because that was so amazing, because having that 9D sound takes breathwork to a whole different level. And then I'm like, I want in.
Yeah.
So I dove all in, and yeah, and now that is my key component on sharing with people. And I've worked with one client where I've actually blended the two together. So I blended the grief recovery method with breath work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
First of all, thank you for sharing such a vulnerable time in your life. And any loss is always going to kind of leave us feeling, we're showing up differently in the world, and but it takes time to process that. And I'm so truly grateful that you found modalities and techniques that worked for you. And as you
Hmm.
were talking, I could sense the loss when you were talking, but that you're able to speak about it now in a way that you're not breaking down. As you say, you're not going into that room and just sobbing. And there'll be moments like that, I'm sure. But
Oh,
you know,
yes.
as you shared your journey, I could feel the lightness coming into you. I could feel that sense of, I suppose, control's the word that's coming to my mind, but it's not exactly what I'm meaning. But like, you have a sense of who you are, and that you can manage those feelings, I guess is the word I'm looking for. And I'd love to, come back to the breath work bit, because some of the listeners might not know what that is and exactly how that works. So I'll
Hmm.
come back to that. But I guess one of my questions about those kind of like early days of grief, what did that teach you about your identity and your self-worth, and like starting over? You did cover some of that, but is there anything else about starting over when, life threw you this massive curveball?
Oh gosh. Yeah, it was really super challenging. Um, gosh, because you just don't know it's like relearning who you are as an individual, because it was always Brendan. My husband's name was
Mhm.
Mike. So it was
Mhm.
always Brendan Mike.
Mhm.
And so now it was just kind of learning. It's like, okay, so who am I without him?
Yeah.
And I feel like part of me actually still feels like I'm discovering that,
Mhm.
even though it's been a little bit over 3 years since I've lost him. And but I've kind of morphed into this, you know, being open to sharing my story, because everybody's going to go through it. Unfortunately, it's just a part of life, and they're all going to be at different levels. And I feel like grief isn't talked about enough, you know, and then people just kind of keep it into like one container of, of a death,
Yeah.
but yeah, but as far as like me personally and just kind of like my self-worth and all that, like I said, I mean, I really honestly feel like I'm still kind of working through all of that.
Yeah.
I definitely have discovered a lot of it because I've worked with through a lot of things and finding my own identity. And right now it's just on the path of, I've always been one to wanting to help other people,
Mhm.
but now I just feel like I'm on this path of helping them at a much deeper level, which feels pretty darn good.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
what a beautiful legacy for your husband, that you're kind of
Yeah.
using that, and I call myself the joy alchemist. What you're doing is alchemizing your experiences into something that's good and that you can use to help other people, because as you say, grief is inevitable, and as you said, it's not confined necessarily just to death. Grief shows up in many forms, and there's so much loss that we experience, and particularly around identity, whether that's loss of a job, or even making the choice to move on from one job to another, or one role to
Oh,
another. There's still
right.
an element of loss or change of your identity there. And one of the things that I always like to say is that you're not starting over, you're starting from where you're at. You're starting from the
Yeah.
wisdom, knowledge, and experience that you had, whether that was, good, sad, bad, or indifferent, and as long as you can then take those lessons and blessings, and there's always lessons and blessings, and some of them are more challenging than others, and using that to then kind of move into that next phase of your life. And I think one of the things that you also said there about, identity is ongoing, and, whether you've experienced grief in any shape or form, or loss in any shape or form, your identity is always evolving. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
you know, sometimes the experience that you had really throws you into that in a much bigger way than maybe the subtle shifts that we make, because we do have the labels of wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, colleague, whatever, and those are all form part of your identity. But actually, in terms of who you truly are, that takes a lot of work to kind of tap into and really kind of hear, when you let go of all the noise and all the labels that are around for you.
Yeah. Because when I started going down this path, I had, there's one moment that really sticks out to me. I was, because I still work a full-time job on top of doing my side business and then plus my podcast. And I had the night before, I had guided a group of individuals through a breathwork journey. And it was so powerful, so amazing. Everybody had great releases. I mean, I literally had a gal that she came in so much physical pain. And when we were done, and she stayed back, and then she said to me, she's like, "You are not going to believe this." She's like, "I don't have any pain anymore." She's like, "I feel absolutely amazing." So I just had this great experience. And the next morning, I'm sitting there thinking about this. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, this feels so great. I'm helping these people. And then all of a sudden, this massive guilt hit me. Like, I wouldn't be doing this
Mhm.
if I hadn't lost my husband. And that literally pulled me down into such a dark place for the whole day. And I'm like, I just felt so horrible and so guilty because I was feeling that joy on helping other people. But that joy came to the expense of losing my husband. And it took finally through the whole day. I'm like texting one of my best friends that had that same year, a couple months prior, she had lost her daughter to suicide. And so her and I keep going, back and forth. And I told her, like I said, I'm like, I need to unload here. I need to unpack this and I need some help. And so I kind of rattled everything off to her. And she came back to me, with some really, you know, beautiful words and everything that kind of helped, but it didn't actually sink in until later when I got home and I was able to kind of process things. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at my husband's picture, and then also then everything kind of hit me, and it was like, this is now I'm going to get emotional.
Okay.
I'm like, this is the gift that you're giving me on the other side, to be able to turn around and help these other people. So for that, I'm so ever grateful for him. And it is his energy that morphs through me because I want to make him proud. Because he said to me, he said, if in the event that anything ever happens to me, he's like, I know you're going to be okay. He's like, because you are strong. And And I keep telling myself, I'm like, I need to live the life that he was denied.
Mhm.
And it is that energy and him that continues to propel me forward.
And I can totally feel him, through the words that you're saying there. And it's, you know, that's the only way that you can move forward, isn't it? Because you can go two ways, and I'm sure you learned this
Oh,
through the grief recovery method. You can either fall completely into that pit of despair and give up, I guess, essentially, is the very worst end of the spectrum, but also potentially use that and make them proud and honor their legacy and everything. So, I'm truly grateful, and I'm sure all your clients are truly grateful for him and for you and using that experience to kind of make the world a better place.
yeah.
Um, so I have dabbled in breath work as a client, and I've done some somatic slash breath work with a coach before, but maybe some of the listeners might not truly understand what that means, because it's not just a deep breath in through the nose and a big exhale out through the mouth. I know there's many components to it. So for my own sake and for the listeners, I would love to hear more about what breath work is and the benefits of it.
So yeah, breath work is like so powerful. And there I breath work I feel is getting used more loosely,
Yeah.
because there's very many different forms of breath work. So there you can have like your short practices that you can do daily, where it takes like 5 minutes to whether you activate your body or to relax your body. Where you can do like a slow count in of 5 and an exhale of 5, or you can do like box breathing, 4, 4, and 4,
Mhm.
or rectangular breathing where you do like 4, 7, 8. So there's those shorter methods to kind of help regulate our nervous
Yeah.
system that we could do like literally on the spot. The ones that are truly transformational that I absolutely love guiding people through is our transformational or somatic breathwork journeys, where you do a very active type of breath work and you're breathing in and out through your mouth. And what it does is it starts tapping into our body to quiet down our monkey mind, that our prefrontal cortex, to get that to quiet down, where we can tap into the subconscious mind. And then because of the active type of breath work that we're doing, it immediately, our body just starts feeling all these emotions and all this energy, literally not by choice, comes out of your body. From, you can get like tingling and numbing, and they call it like lobster claws, which is called like tetany.
Yeah.
And and you can get emotional depending upon what's going on in your
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
I mean, there are many times I haven't gotten through many breathwork journeys at all without crying. And it's just because of that breath work. It's just like your body starts feeling all these emotions. And what's so amazing about it, because there's so many people I feel that don't like talking about their
Mhm.
emotions because they're just so good, because we've been so conditioned through the years about be strong and be, try to not like share your emotions and have that firm face and everything. Where with breath work, your body can start releasing all these emotions and everything, and you don't have to say a word if you don't want to. Because during the breathwork journey, you're not, because you're literally
Yeah.
just focusing on your breath.
Yeah.
But even like afterwards, I give people the opportunity to speak if they want to share anything, whether it be their experience or just even some stuff that they're trying to process. A lot of times they don't say too much because they're still just trying to process like what the heck just happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it just really, I mean, I mean, it helps release. If you could actually have like physical pain in the body, like I shared with you, I had that one client
Mm.
who many times has done breathwork journeys with me. I've guided her through breathwork journeys, as she came in and just so much physical pain, just various aches and pains in the body. And she left feeling absolutely, absolutely amazing. Like that was just insane. She's like, I had so much pain in my back, I could barely walk. And then she walked out just feeling very light and free. And so, which tells you that it's like our body is holding on to that pain, not only, I mean, physically. So it's not only emotionally draining us, but yeah. So I mean, just helping us so many different levels, from just releasing all the stress, the anxiety. It helps with dealing with past trauma, with
Mhm.
PTSD, and there's just, I mean, that is like kind of like the big things.
Yeah.
but once you start releasing all that stress and all that emotions, and then you start feeling better and you start sleeping better and your digestive system gets better. And there's just so much involved in it, but it takes the work,
Mhm.
and it can be very uncomfortable. So, and I always tell my clients, I'm like, you need to be comfortable with being uncomfortable because that's just part of the work. I mean, I feel a lot of self-development is kind of facing the ugliness and
Yeah.
being okay with it.
Yeah. Thank you so much
But
for that. Sorry, on you go.
no, I was just going to say, like when we do the breathwork journey, because we have this, it's they all get if they do it in person, they all get headsets that so we listen to 90 audio and nine-dimensional sound. So it has like the healing frequencies in there. It has subliminal messaging in there.
Mhm.
And then so we start out on a calmer note, and then as we're building up the intensity of the breathwork journey, the intensity of the music increases. And then we have this peak where we have this massive energy release, which usually is in the form of a scream.
Mhm.
And I always tell the people, I'm like, you don't have to scream, but I invite you to scream because it is a massive energy release and it feels absolutely amazing. And then we calm down, and then we go into these energy bubbles, which are so beautiful.
Mm.
And then we're going to start tapping into the subconscious mind and start doing some of the rewiring. It's just,
Yeah,
I just love it. It's just so beautiful.
that's amazing. And thank you so much for the explanation and sharing that. And like, yeah, I've done the kind of smaller, like in the moment exercises that you can do literally anywhere, because you can do it quite surreptitiously, with that inconspicuously, where people
Hmm.
don't even notice, that you're maybe doing, especially to regulate my nervous system when I'm starting to feel a bit of anxiety or feeling a bit kind of, worried or frustrated about something. I just go into my breath, and it just helps to just calm my nervous system there and then. But yeah, the transformational bits probably is those deeper ones. And I think, emotions is energy in motion. And as like the way you were talking there, like energy, when those emotions get stuck in our body because the energy is not moving, that's the
Hmm.
beauty of the breath work and somatic work, which I've done before as well, is literally. But as you say, the beauty of it is you don't need to speak. You can scream and you can make noises, but you don't actually have to like verbalize what's going on. And the release and the relief that I have felt after doing those sessions, like I've had cushions, and like I'm like bashing, because I wanted to really kind of tap into some anger at one point last year, and I was bashing them, was slamming the cushion, and like it was like I was exhausted at the end of it, but the release and the relief I felt was just absolutely amazing. So yeah, I'm quite interested in that 90 transformational journey, so I'll come back to you on that one.
Okay.
Um, so, kind of from your journey, you've spoken about, like, and your work that you do, how that unresolved emotional pain can cloud our sense of kind of like self-worth and keep us stuck in that survival mode. So how how do you see that kind of shifting for people, and how does that, like, obviously you have that immediate response once they've done the workshop, but like how does that move on for people afterwards in terms of that long ongoing effect of that work?
Of the breath work.
Yeah.
So it is something that if you're, depending upon what's going on in your life, you need to kind of make it more of a regular practice to kind of get really through all the, I'm going to call it the gunk
Yeah.
all the gunk that you're dealing with. So you kind of get to this point where you have to do a lot of work to kind of get through it. And I don't feel like we ever get through it because we deal with generational trauma that so many of us don't even know that we're dealing with, and that we're carrying stuff from generations ago. And but I think it's just that continuous work on ourselves. Yeah, you might have to do like more sessions to begin with, but then after a while you can kind of do it more on a maintenance type level. And I know people have asked me, they're like, well, how often do you recommend doing it? I'm like, it really depends upon what's going on in your life. So like me personally, as an example, I um we lost our mom 2 weeks ago.
Oh, so sorry.
And it's been very challenging because she was, we were closer to her than we were my dad. And then for me, I felt like it was more compounded because losing her, and then it's like I started missing my husband more because I don't have my person
Mhm.
to console me and to support me. So it was kind of like the emotional baggage just kind of felt heavier. And so I've been, but the last couple of weeks have been really busy because we're planning, because her funeral is on Monday,
Oh,
and I just haven't had a whole lot of time to just like process, and I just feel like reality hasn't set in yet. But I could feel like inside, I could just feel it emotionally. Like I really need to do a breathwork journey because I'm like, I feel like I am on the brink, you know. So I actually do have it scheduled in my calendar for tomorrow morning to be doing a breathwork journey to help myself. And yeah, so I just really think it's a matter of just what's going on in your life, and then like I said, you might have to do more within a batch of time, and then you might be able to do more of a maintenance where you can do like maybe once a month or something like that, or maybe once every 2 months. But still, I think it's important to even do the daily short practices where you do like the 5 minutes. And even throughout the day when you're feeling that anxiety, just kind of, you can easily sit at your desk
yeah.
and to just do the quick 5 in, 5 out. Or if I need that energy, I'll maybe step off in the bathroom or something like that, and I'll do like a fire breath, kind of
Yes.
breathe real fast in and out through my nose to kind of get the energy flowing, which I actually did that before I came on the podcast. So,
Yeah. Yeah. There's one that I saw recently, and it's like three deep breaths, but you kind of swing your arms, so it's like, and then you go, ha, and you just can like just release it. And I've like that's a really good one just for like when I've been feeling stuck, but I don't know, I'm not happy, I'm not sad, I'm not frustrated, I'm not anxious. I just feel not like ugh. And I've done that a few times, and it's probably similar to the kind of like fire breath as well. It just kind of like invigorates you, and just whatever was stuck just kind of seems to go, and you can like, okay, now I can carry on with my day again. But yeah, it's really powerful. But yeah, I think it's like,
mhm.
any practice, in the world that we do in terms of coaching and spirituality and personal development is what works for you. And it's so lovely that we have all these different ways of being able to do that. But, it's really
Yes.
resonating with me that the whole breathwork journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to shift lanes ever so slightly. And as you know, joy is a big focus of this podcast.
Hmm.
So, what's one way that you intentionally create joy in your everyday life? And what advice would you give to someone who is struggling to prioritize their own happiness?
Uh, so what are things that bring joy in my life?
Yes.
My cats. We didn't have any children, so my two cats are my children. They definitely bring me joy. They definitely love their mama, and I love them dearly. That definitely brings me joy. But movement,
Hmm.
I love working out. I mean that helps keep me sane.
Yes.
Mentally kind of brings me back into my body. But I mean, having dance parties of one brings me joy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in my house and I can turn on my music and I don't have to worry because I'm out in the country. My neighbors aren't going to hear it. I can play my music as loud as I want, and I can turn on some good music, and I'm just dancing around the house and having dance parties of one, and that brings me so much joy.
Yeah, dance parties are one. I love that, and I do that all the time. Like when I've got the music playing, and I've got my high vibe tunes that I just love dancing to, and it's like literally dancing like nobody's watching because nobody is. But
Hmm.
I call it joyful
Yeah,
movement. It's such a great way to just raise your energy just instantly, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. But I mean, not only that, I mean, it just being outside in nature, it's just like I love going for the walks. I love being by water. I
Mhm.
love being by water. So like, because I'm in Wisconsin, so I like to go down to Port Washington, like Michigan,
Mhm.
and walk the trails and all that. Just breathing all the fresh air, just hearing the sound of the waves coming and the water flowing. That just brings me so much peace and so much joy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Water is so soothing, isn't it? And it's such a calming effect I always find, and it's beautiful.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so then the other part of your question was what I
So
would
what, yeah,
recommend?
what advice would you give someone who is struggling to prioritize their happiness, perhaps because they maybe are going through some challenges or some difficult times or loss?
My recommendation would be, even if it's a couple of minutes, take whether even try 5 minutes, start small. Just think of something, as hard as it might be to do, because it can be, because I mean, I know going through everything that I did, there were a lot of times that I literally had to force myself to do something. It's like, no, you're going to do this. Just do it. And when I did, it helped me in some way. So I would say, even as difficult as it might be, think of one thing that you might enjoy doing, whether it be walking outside or whether having that little, even just kind of moving and flowing a little bit, whatever it might be, or even just taking that time for yourself or spending it with your cats or dog or whatever it is. Find that one thing, as uncomfortable as it might be, and then just make yourself do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because if you wait to feel motivated, it's not going to happen.
Definitely.
So it's like you just might have to take that step and force yourself to do it, and then just be in that moment, be present in that moment, and then see how you feel after that. So just start small and build from there.
Yeah. I completely agree, because, you know, for a lot of things, the big things and the small things in life, if we wait to feel ready, then we're probably never going to be ready. And, you know, I always talk about, you know, like clarity comes through action and
Oh
confidence comes through
gosh.
clarity, you know, so unless you do the thing, you're never going to know whether it's right or whether it's wrong. And if it's wrong, that's okay. You've tried it. You know, you could then go down a different path. But as you say, you always need to take that first step. And that's so
Yes.
important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing your stories and insights. And one thing that really stood out for me was the fact that, you know, your identity is always evolving, and, you know, it doesn't even matter whether, you know, you've experienced something as significant as a loss or whether it is just, you know, generally. And I think that's, you know, once we can accept that, we can release some of our old parts of our identity, as opposed to just always holding on and thinking we are this one thing. We are human beings. We learn to experience life, and that means that we shift and we change as we go as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I am sure that my listeners will want to find out more about you and breathwork and the grief recovery method and everything that you do. So where's the best place that people can connect with you and learn more about your work?
I'm on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. On Instagram, under Brenda Mundt, and when I initially set it up, I forgot my A.
Talk
So
about
I just
identity.
so I'm like, it's just gonna stay without an A.
Yeah.
So on Instagram, it's Brenda Mundt, Mundt. On Facebook, I have my personal page under my name, Brenda Mundt, but I also have a business page under Energized Life Wellness. LinkedIn under my personal name, and then I also have my website, which is www.energizedlifewellness.com. And my
Brilliant.
podcast, Heartache, Health, and Healing.
Yes, of course. And I'll add a link to all of those in the show notes as well, so that
Thank
people can
you.
connect with you there. So thank you so much. It's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for your vulnerability, honoring and celebrating you for that, and showing us that it's okay to show that side of ourselves, and that life,
Absolutely.
you know, we can still create something beautiful from our experiences and from the relationships that we've had.
Yes, yes. And thank you so much for having me. I loved it.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Your Worth, Your Way. I know you'll be walking away feeling inspired and ready to embrace your worth and prioritize your joy. If you love this episode, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a review or share it with someone who needs a little bit of encouragement today. And don't forget to hit that follow button so that you never miss another episode. And you can connect with me, find out more about the podcast, my guests, and what I do at debbielucas.me/links. And if you don't already, follow me on your favorite social media platform. I'd love to hear your thoughts and continue the conversation there. And until next time, remember that you are worthy exactly as you are.